the Wynn we are. And let's get a couple things straight. I like the Wynn. I like playing at the Wynn. Some might even say I like playing at the Wynn more than I like playing at the Bellagio, believe it or not. The problem has been the Bellagio typically just has more games. There's more selection. You can get in a game. And here at the Wynn, it's a little bit harder. I checked Poker Atlas. It looks like they have 2 games on this Saturday night. Word on the street is that the games at the Wynn have been better than the games at the Bellagio. So we find ourselves at the Wynn. Let's just hope we can get into a game. Although this vlog has just started, this isn't even the beginning of my evening at the Wynn. In fact, at this point, I'm a good hour or so into it. I played 2-5 no limit for a few orbits while waiting for a 5-10-10 seat to open, and I lost $40 in that game. Then I get called for the 5-10-10 must move game. Almost immediately, probably my second hand played, I lost $900 with ace-king offsuit, go figure, versus aces. Then less than an orbit later, I won $1,000 with aces myself. It's minutes after scooping that pot that you join the action, with me looking down at 5-4 of clubs. Let's get into it. I open from the hijack to $30 and get called by the big blind. Heads up. Catching a monotone heart flop of ace-queen 4 doesn't really excite me. The big blind checks and I bet small with bottom pair, basically just trying to protect against all his hands that contain a single heart. Because that's basically all I can beat at this point. He calls. The turn pairs the ace and he checks again. I'm pretty confident that he didn't flop top pair and then turn trips and check, because most players wouldn't do that with that kind of hand. I don't know this villain, so I just have to lean on population tendencies. I check this back rather than protect again. I kinda just want to get to showdown. The river 3 of spades is not a scary card for me, but now the big blind leads for $80. He has a lot of bluffs here. Basically any unpaired hand with a heart might take this line. Although in hindsight, they probably wouldn't be betting this size. My game time decision was just to call and be fine with losing sometimes, which is exactly what happens when I call and he shows me 9 deuce of hearts where he flopped flush. Interesting pre-flop hand construction. It is what it is. I chalk that up for later use. However, before later use can come into play, that player just leaves the game. Such is the nature of live poker sometimes. With the 5 seat now empty, we have 1 blind this hand, and the under the gun player, a friend of mine with her own vlog, opens to $30. I slide in there with pocket 4s, which is kinda and the lone blind comes along too. 3 of us. Ace 10-9 rainbow. The player first to act checks and she continues for $30. I could have the best hand here, I mean, it's possible, but there really isn't an easy path to victory, so I fold. The blind folds and she picks up a quick $70. 2 minutes later, both the 3 and 4 seats leave and a new player joins in the 5 seat. I slide over to the more comfortable 3 seat. We're 6-handed now and I open 10-8 offsuit from the small blind at $30 and get raised to $100 from the newly joined big blind. I snap fold and he shows me good for him. The hand after that, I open pocket 3s on the button and well, That goes nowhere. Following that, I open pocket jacks from the cutoff to $30, and the big blind steps up to the fight.
I'll get him, guys.
Good call. I catch the ace-ace-deuce rainbow flop in the big blind checks. I continue for one big blind on this board, knowing that most villains would more than likely raise all their strong aces pre-flop, and I still have all the aces in my range. He snap folds to this monster bet. I enter another few hands pre-flop that go nowhere, and then I get called for the main game, down a few $100 so far this session. I slide into the 2-seat, and a few minutes later, my friend Jenny is called from the must-move game as well. At the main game, I get questioned by the Wynn regs about how things have been going at the Bellagio. I tell them about the maniac I played with earlier in the day, which you may have seen in the last vlog.
There was a guy at Bellagio today. Holy shit. Like, he was playing easily 85% 90 VPIP and just destroying like, it was the wildest thing I've ever seen. But he was betting like big when he had value. When he had nothing, he was betting huge. Like, I mean, he was like 6x pop. Like, I mean, he was just scaring all the nits, you know, like, and so, yeah, then you know what the nits do. They all just tighten up and they just like wait for kings and they just try to trap him. Well, he would see right through that and he'd just crack them. Like, it was wild.
I must say, that is a very interesting little tale that you were spinning to your friend, because if I remember correctly, didn't you try to trap him with kings and then fold like a little scared, how do I say, female dog?
The night before, we had the 40 on and sometimes the 80. Not everybody would do it, you know what I mean? Which is fine, you don't have to do it, but it's...
That story ends, and then another story begins about a session of 5, 10, 20, sometimes 40, sometimes 80 that happened the night before at the Bellagio. Right as I look down at...
But it seemed like anytime somebody would do it,
I try to remain calm and fearless and keep the story going as I open at $30. At the same time, I'm trying to remember which level I parked my car on, because there's a non-zero chance I might be headed to it in very short order. Oh yeah, level 3. The cutoff calls and the big blind calls, and we go to this flop 3 ways.
I'd pick up a hand and then I just like miss the flop or have to fold or whatever, but it's just like, this shit just cost me $400. You know what I mean? Because like the 80 was on that one hand. You know what I mean? Like
Ace 4 8 with 2 diamonds.
Like the 80's on. I open with jacks. It goes call, and
the big blind checks, and I can barely contain my jubilation and keep my voice steady as I'm telling the story, because flopping top pair with this hand is clearly the best moment of my life.
And then the flop comes like ace, king, deuce, and then it's...
I get snap folds from both the cutoff and the big blind. Oh well.
Like that, and I just have to fold. And like,
it's for very good days and very bad.
Yeah, 100%.
One thing I noticed about this game is it was constantly short, with players just walking around or leaving the game, and then the natural delay of moving people from the must move to the main game. The main game wasn't really full during my session here. This hand begins 6-handed, and I'm fine with that. Honestly, I probably feel much more comfortable 6-handed than I do 8 or 9. The hijack opens to $30, and a second later, I look down at aces. A raise is in order, and I bump it up to $150. Oh yeah, another thing I noticed, a lot of hands don't see flops.
Every time you come around, like you leave and then you come back.
You played that shit?
Seeing as this game was kinda slow, Jenny and I began talking about vlogging, and she asked what I was using now as my main camera. I pulled the Osmo Pocket 3 from my bag and began playing around with it as the cards were dealt to me. The hijack opens to $30.
It was like $1,000.
No, it's not that bad. Race.
Raise to 100.
I capture my whole cards with the Osmo Pocket and raise to $100 from the button. Are you wondering what I have? Here, I'll take another look. The hijack calls. Heads up, the flop comes King, Queen, 9. The hijack checks, and I decide to get overly fancy and check this back. The turn brings the 4 of hearts. He checks, and I check again, hoping he will stab at this board at least once. The river deuce of spades is a complete nothing, and he checks for a final time. I throw out a full pot bet. Who knows, maybe he'll get stubborn and call me down with pocket 7s or something. But he's not interested. In fact, the feeling I was getting was that no one was really interested in this game. Jenny began picking up her chips to take a seat in the 10-20 game.
Say bye to the people. She's shy. She's got her own channel and she's shy. How does that work?
Because I can control how you edit me.
Good luck.
See you later.
But after getting a good look at that game, she came to the same conclusion I had come to. The 10-20 game didn't look very good either, so she returned to 5-10. A hand later, she opens to $30 from the small blind, and I make a pretty standard call from the big blind holding 4 deuce suited.
Oh, okay.
3-10-10. This flop is pretty much a jump ball. She's opening a lot of 10s pre-flop and probably expecting me to call with a lot of 10s from the big blind. Truth is, I'm probably raising at a decent clip with the majority of my suited 10s, but I don't need to go into all of that. She bets, I call. The turn ace of spades is definitely better for her than me, and she pauses before continuing. Picking up both flush and wheel draws, I find a pretty easy call here. Then the river 6 of diamonds falls, which means I brick everything, and she checks. I'm left holding the nut low, and I can't win with the nut low. I cut out a bet that I think might get her to fold the majority of her non-paired hands. Maybe not king high. I'd probably call me with king high here. She thinks for a bit and does find the call, and I lose to ace 4 offsuit. Fair enough.
What possible? Oh,
Yeah. It's some possibilities, yeah.
actually, you were actually close.
Yeah.
Hitting
Yeah.
so.
2-0.
I mean, honestly, you know, just got me full.
Yeah. Can't fold an ace. It's a good hand. Ace is a good.
Ace 7, ace 8.
But I never have those hands. Those are hard hands to get.
In the very next hand, the cutoff opens to $30, and I 3-bet with ace-jack offsuit, and he folds. There just wasn't much fighting going on in this game. Even here, when I open with this bullshit hand to get called by the cutoff. The flop checks through. The turn checks through. I river top pair and check, praying that the villain will bet something. Anything. Nothing. So my day ends with a kind of boring, but a relaxing session at the Wynn, which is almost polar opposite to the deathmatch games I played at the Bellagio at the beginning of the day.
So we're done. Game is over here at the Wynn. Pretty quick session, in and out in about 3 hours. Played 2-5 for all of 15 minutes while I waited for a 5-10 game. Then played 5-10 for, I don't know, 2 hours and 45 minutes or so. Into both games for this and out for that. So, you know, okay. I will probably be spending more time here at the Wynn than I have in the past. We'll make it reminiscent of, like, when did I play at the Wynn a lot? 2022? 2023? Let's come back.
But for now, I got to get out of here. It's getting a little late. I got plans tomorrow. So if you like the vlogs, leave me a comment, subscribe. Catch you next time. Maybe right here. Bye.